Welcome in. Man, it is July 3rd. We are a day away from 4th of July. Independence Day. Ooh, we made it. Are we on?
Yeah, we're on.
Okay. Yeah. So, it's crazy, dude. We're almost, let's see, that's the music.
We're over half. We're halfway through the year.
Yeah. Another independence. It's weird, man. Like, I watched this YouTube video. It was a short, and I kind of believe it 100%. But like considering all things, like politics wise, like gas prices are up like fucking $6.
Yeah, inflation's crazy.
Yeah, everything that has a price tag, all commodities are out the asshole, and I mean the only people we can point fingers at are the politicians. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. No one in their right mind would have voted for fucking prices to go up as bad as they have.
But I guess it's just because like people are also kind of dumb. Like when we got those stimulus checks, everyone's all like super happy we're getting stimulus checks, but you just realize they're just fucking printing money, bro. So like inflation, yeah. We knew inflation was gonna go up. I just don't get why people are hella like shocked about it right now. Like you should have known this was gonna happen.
Yeah,
like we were making no money those 2 years. Like,
yeah. So I was watching, like as I started, I watched this YouTube short, and a guy was like, everybody who works in the professional field has to be licensed or like has to get qualifications for their positions.
But there's nothing for politicians.
There's nothing for politicians. It's really fucking.
I don't even know, like, I guess, like, in college, you'd study, like, political science.
Political science.
But I just don't get what you're studying,
that works in the political realm, like, so, like, economy, like, politics, like, anything in that realm, you should have a degree in before you fucking become a politician.
Or, like, law or something.
Yeah. Like, everyone's just, it becomes a thing of, like, I feel like if you just threw actors up there, it's no different from politicians. Politicians are just less glorified actors.
Yeah, man.
Just as much clout, but not as much love, right? But at the same time, like, they don't do shit for us. They haven't been, at least.
Yeah.
Fucking bullshit, dude. I don't know. I just so annoyed. I
don't know what it's like in other countries, but like obviously, like when Trump ran, it basically was like technically anyone can run. There's no like you have to have these baseline things in place.
Right.
It's like,
that's it. It's so frustrating though, man. Like, we are the ones that are suffering for, and I mean it's our own fault, right? Because we voted these people in, or like politicians are voted in. So like whoever voted for these politicians are at fault. That's for any case, right? Anytime there's a policy that goes up that you're not about, like you have to blame the person you voted in. Or if you didn't vote for them, then you have to blame the person that the majority voted in.
But it's also like, you know how when you're like signing up for Facebook or something, you don't have like that, like those fine print and shit that no one ever reads. Yeah. Like everyone just hits agree. I feel like a lot of these bills or like laws, it's kind of like that. Like people just read the part that aligns with whatever they want to hear, but they don't read the whole thing. So it's like when something gets overturned or like some shit is like, oh, but we have a law in place for this, but you didn't read the rest of the fucking rule.
A lot of people do that though. A lot of politicians make passes like that where they'll put something that everyone agrees to, but on the back of that is like is these contingents that have nothing to do with what the topic of discussion is. And it is to not take, like, it's not gonna fuck people over, but essentially it's like a big fuck you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just like you don't realize those things until like that one or two situations that like put those other texts into play come out.
Yeah.
Just like,
or like California is trying to pass, I think in 2050, I don't remember. Like in the next few years, they want to get rid of all like gas-based vehicles.
Oh, they're trying to switch everything to EV.
Yeah, they're gonna switch everything to electric. But here's the thing: so like to create electricity right now, we use fossil fuels to create electricity.
And like that's what I always struggle with because people are like, "Oh, but EV cars save our carbon footprint." I was like, "Do they really though?" Because you're just switching from using like coal or some shit to like electricity.
Yeah,
like it's just fucking the same. Yeah,
it's literally a workaround of using the same shit that we're trying to ban.
Like I don't know if there's like if you use electricity, it's still a 30% reduce on like carbon footprint than like coal or something. But like, I'm sure it's better, but it's not like an end all be all fix.
It's not a miracle cure.
It's just like people right now feel like oh, this is gonna reduce everything a lot, but I'm like, it might reduce it a bit, but it's not like we're not gonna drastically drop our pollution.
Yeah, I feel like people just make it and that's another topic I've always talked about with people. I'm like, as much as the U.S. can save their carbon footprint, what about the other countries in the world?
Like in India during the summer, they basically cut people's electricity because they know everyone's trying to run their AC and shit. They're like, bro, y'all gotta like chill. Like at hours when they think that no one's gonna be at home, they'll just cut it because it's like it's a waste of even like having to go through the whole city.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like that here.
Arizona did that too. Cause same thing. They're very like AC and like.
Yeah, I mean in the summer it's probably like 104, 110, so like cooking.
You just fucking put that shit on until the summer's over. But like they'll do other things in I mean California used to do this with water, right?
I think they still do. They still cut off your.
When we were in a drought, you couldn't water your lawn all day. It had to be like a night thing.
And then like they have those things now for the showers where it's like water savers, like on the shower heads where you don't like use as much water. Yeah.
So Arizona, same thing. So if I remember correctly, a lot of areas in the Phoenix area, you couldn't do laundry at certain hours, and if you like followed those guidelines, you would get like a relief on your bill, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like your gas and electric bill would be reduced, but still like, I mean that makes sense though. Like at least it teaches people to like be conservative. But
yeah, I remember even from like when we were younger, like the thing of like, oh, when you're not using like the faucet, like turn it off or like. So I guess we were a little more aware, like just to be like, yo, every little drop kind of like does make a difference in a sense.
Well, yeah, I feel like when we were in science camp, we did it in 6th grade.
Yeah.
That was one of the things. You had to take like and this one was like virtually impossible, but you had to take like a 2-minute shower.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how clean you're gonna get in 2 minutes. You can rinse in 2 minutes though.
Dude, so what I used to do, because I knew I wasn't gonna be able to fucking get like a full clean on.
Yeah.
So like, you'd wait for other people to go. I would go probably towards the end. I would literally shampoo my hair, like start shampooing my hair in the sink.
Oh, and
just to get ready, because I knew if I didn't, like I would be like 10 minutes up, like not 10 minutes, but like more than 3 or 4 minutes.
Like over. I know in the Philippines and in India, I don't know about like I'm sure in other places of the world they do this thing where they have like something called a geyser, which is what's gonna get your water warm for the shower. So you turn that on before you get in. So, but it only lasts for a certain amount of time. So people use the buckets to fill up their bucket of how much water they're gonna use for the shower, and then. But.
I was gonna say you always see like those like Asian martial arts films.
Oh yeah.
Like Kung Fu Hustle does it, where they just like run water from like a tap and they put a towel over it and it just gives you a drip. And they literally use that drip from the towel to fucking clean themselves. Like,
it's weird because like you think about it and you're like, oh, that's such an archaic like way, but in a way it could also be helping you save more water.
Dude, that saves you a shit ton of water.
Yeah, so I'm like, it might not be the most comfortable shit, but it would definitely help the world.
I was gonna say, we are very pampered, dude. Yeah. How many people take like hot showers, just straight fucking hot?
And it's weird though, because cold showers are technically better for you, aren't they?
Healthy.
Yeah. What the fuck?
So what I like to do, I'll do like a 3-minute hot shower, and then the rest is just straight cold ice water.
Yeah. It opens up your pores and stuff.
Well, the hot water opens up your pores. Yeah. The cold water is supposed to like help your immune system somehow.
And it's also supposed to be for like muscle recovery, right? Because that's why people do ice baths and shit.
So yeah, I used to go to this expensive ass gym in Arizona. It was like a couple $100 a month, but I had like a loophole to it, so I only paid like 30 or 40. Like I paid like a normal gym membership.
Yeah.
I guess gym memberships can come down to like $20 now a month. So I paid for like a premium gym membership there, or like at a regular place it'd be a premium price, but there it was like the most basic price. But they had like a cold tub, a hot tub.
They had everything you needed, a sauna.
Dude, yeah, it was one of those facilities where they trained professional athletes.
Damn.
So like I would see like football players, offensive linemen, like walk in just fucking getting their like spring training and over there. It's pretty crazy. Like, I couldn't name anybody, but, like, you could just see from the build, and then also they wore their team on their fucking, like, workout gear.
Yeah, I mean, like,
a lot of college prospects.
This is kind of, like, off topic in a way, but, like, I was watching the second Doctor Strange yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Or I watched the first one, because I never got through it before.
Yeah.
So, like, in the beginning where he's, like, because he's a neurosurgeon, right?
Yeah.
So he gets sent to that place and, like, I'm forgetting Nepal or whatever.
My
I'm
friend
forgetting the
went to
name
Nepal
of
too,
it. It's
but yeah, he
called,
went
but
to
like, and then he's like, "What is this like archaic method of like treating people and shit?" But if you go to like some villages out there, like people still do like some like herbal or like more, I guess, nature-esque treatment styles.
Yeah,
they just rely on like whatever comes from the earth.
It's crazy because like there's some truth to it because at the end of the day, like the whole thing they preach was like mind over matter.
I mean, like.
And there's some truth to that.
When you're like when you had your ACL injury, I'm sure if you just were like depressed or super down on yourself, it would definitely take you longer to heal. Like I don't know like what the exact science is, but it would take you longer to heal. But if you have a positive mindset and you're like, I'm gonna get back to where I was, and you're really grinding, like your mind will like
all day long. Funnily enough, so my dad used to have he was a high school baseball coach. He had an assistant coach who was into that kind of stuff. So he had a guy. I was in San Diego when this was going on. I hadn't had my surgery yet. It was like in that off time because we didn't know I tore my ACL until like a month after I tore it.
Oh shit!
So I was playing on like a torn ACL in soccer for like a month, and then when I found out, it took another month to schedule the surgery because it was booked up. But in that month, that coach, who I was a good friend with, like he was a good coach to me as well. Like I knew we were pretty much a family friend at this point.
Yeah.
He gave me this dude's contact, put me on the phone with him, and it was one of those guys who was like a mentalist in a sense. So he was trying to do like a lot of, and I didn't believe it. So like I didn't get. I mean, I try to get as much benefit from it as possible, but like some people do that where they like go through like serious injury like that, and all they need is just like that mental stimulation, and like 80% of whatever pain or issue they're dealing with is there.
Yeah.
Now I tore my ACL. I didn't think that was going to be the case because I felt so much looseness in my knee. Anytime I stepped, I thought my knee was going to give. So for that one, it was a little more skepticism. There was a lot more skepticism. Yeah. But like there was some truth to it too because I think it did get my mindset in the right track.
I think like. I don't think it's one way or the other is like drastically better, but I think a combination of both is probably what's going to put you in the best recovery. Like using more modern medicine and some of like the old techniques, plus like doing the mindset training, probably makes a huge difference. Doing everything together.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too. Is like there was I've been on YouTube a lot, but this was like an old video I used to see. But like these Japanese scientists would like say really. Like words of affirmation to water, and then they would freeze it, and it would form like prettier, like crystalline forms. And then the like words of like more negative words would make these like ugliness. Like it would make the actual crystal structure when they froze the water like a lot more like it looked toxic, like literally toxic. You know what I mean? But it wasn't. But like that was the form it held. And I was like, what? There was like
I don't know how that works with nature, but I know that definitely works with humans.
Yeah.
Like the way you talk to someone, or you like if you're a coach, the way you're like
the way you hold yourself too. Like if you're
or like what it's like the nurture over nature thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like how you take care of someone.
Here's what I think, and this is just a working little theory off of that, but I think it's the vibrations. Right, all words are just vibrational
like
patterns.
Energy, yeah.
We've just gotten so good at it that now we can create language out of it, and communication skills are based off of that. But like, like we say love, and that's like a word that people will perk up to, and you say hate, and that's a word that people will not. There'll be an adverse effect.
Or like if you think of something like arrogant, you just have like a negative connotation or something.
Yeah, and so I mean, like even yesterday I was talking with my girlfriend, and I was like, I know for sure I'm one of those people that cannot hide my emotions. Like
you can't fake
when
it.
It's real.
Yeah.
Like as real as it can be. Like if I have to play a part or I have to put on a facade for whatever reason, like I'm at work and I can't be angry. I could do it, but it's really difficult. And most of the time, if you know me well enough, you know I'm not having a good time.
I feel like I can do it in those situations where it's like, oh, I'm at work, like kind of check your attitude at the door type deal. But I can't do it where people are like, I can't do it the other way, where it's like you have to appear happy. I can do it where it's like, I won't let the anger bother me, but I'm not going to make it look like I'm happy.
Yeah. I
Like
know
I can
that.
hit the middle, but I can't go like all the way to the other side.
I'll feel it in my face too. Same thing, because like again, I work in an environment where like someone can constitute my mood almost instantly based on how their approach is. And so if I have someone who comes at me completely sideways, it's almost impossible for me to be like, yeah, you know what I mean? But like I will fake it until I make it. But I know, and anybody who's around me will know that that is fake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How do you feel about like when people say like happiness is a choice, where it's like if you try and like be happier in the day, like just smile more or whatever, it'll make a difference?
Yeah, or they say if you fake yourself to smile, it'll become natural eventually.
Yeah, I don't know how. Like, I've never really tried it, so I don't know if it really affects your mood throughout the whole day. If you like wake up in the morning, you try to be like be more positive and smile more.
So again, this was like I did a little experiment with my girlfriend when I would say like a few months into our relationship. I was going through like a lull. I go through lulls.
I think everyone does.
But I was going through a lull, and I told her, I'm like, I'm gonna call you like anytime I wake up like early enough to get you before you have to go into your meetings. I'm gonna give you a call and fucking just get my day going, kind of thing. So like literally, I'd call her and I'd just be fucking just like I would over exaggerate my excitement, right? But like at the same time, it boosted both of our morals like through the roof. At least mine for sure, and I could tell like hers a bit more too, right? Because like she wakes up pretty fucking early.
Oh yeah.
By the time she's up, I'm like
about to go to bed.
I'm like 2 hours into my sleep. So like there were some times where I get like an early bed, like I'd get to bed early some nights, and early for me is like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. I'd wake up, give her that call, and like fucking now my day is that much better. I'd go back to sleep, but like I wake up from my second roll of sleep, and I'd be fucking like my day is like already shining, even though it could be as cloudy as possible. Like it works. It's hard sometimes though, but it works.
I know, like ever since I came back from India, my sleep schedule is kind of fucked up. So now I just go to the gym at like 6:30 in the morning.
I can't.
But like for some reason, it just feels better to go at that time than to go at like 7 at night. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I like going earlier in the day, and that's why I like my schedule. Because lately I haven't been going to the gym, and that's for other reasons. But like I go at like latest like noon, and I love it because it's empty, no one's there, and I get to just fucking.
Or like I still see a couple people there, but they're there like every day, and like everyone's just kind of got their headphones and they're just doing their own thing. They're just minding their own business. I feel like when I go in the evenings, it's just so hectic in there. Yeah. And then there's people trying to record for their Instagram and shit. I'm just like, bro, I'm not trying to be around this energy.
That's me though. I just hate gyms that are like fucking crowded. So I don't like small gyms naturally because like
I hate like when I have like a workout in mind. I'm like, I'm gonna do this, this, and this, and I'm trying to go in the order, but someone's on your fucking thing. I'm like, bro, I'm not trying to like mess up what I had planned,
and that's
bro.
The thing too is that's the whole problem is like because I'm the same way. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna hit the bench first, or I'm gonna fucking hit the squat rack first. And all those are taken up. I'm like, I don't want to do anything with legs today now. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't want to do it's like my workout.
You were trying to hit like the regular press for your bench, but then now you're like, I gotta do dumbbell press because the fucking all the benches are taken up. Yeah. And you're like, this is not what I was trying to do today.
Yeah, and it almost ruins your whole workout.
Yeah, because you're just like ticked off. You're like, or you're stubborn enough where you're like, I'm gonna just wait till it's free, and then like makes your workout longer than it should have been.
Yeah. You're literally just that asshole at the gym that just stands around. I fucking hate that. Yeah, I hate those gyms, man. That's why I like big gyms, and I'm like, so like Arizona, I loved it because like that's all they had were like big fucking gyms. So like no matter what gym membership you got, it was either a gym that nobody went to, or it was a gym that was so big that as many people that could fill it up, they could never fill it up. Yeah, you know. I had to take a gym membership that's like a little further out of my way. So like. My brother and all his friends and a lot of my friends and a lot of the people that go to my bar go to this gym. It's like probably 5 minutes away from my house. But I couldn't go there because, I mean, they didn't have like a sauna. They didn't have a lap pool. They didn't have basketball court or racquetball court. The gym I have now does. But at the same time, I was like, I cannot work out with people that I serve, like at the bar.
Oh, it's just weird, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to be super friendly with those people. No offense to them. Like, I love them as people, but, like, I can't hang out with my patrons like that. Like, it's just too much.
How do you feel about, like, solo workouts versus going with people? Because like when you go with people, it's good if you're both like on your shit and they're gonna like push you to like, oh, like you're about to be like, oh, I'm done with this rep, and they push you to do another rep.
Yeah.
Or they're like, no, I think you could do a little more weight. They add like the 5 pounds or whatever.
So
But sometimes I'm like, they'll workouts with other people just be taking way too much of my time, bro. Like I could be done faster.
So I go work out with my brother, and him and I get our workouts in pretty fucking fast, which I love.
Yeah.
Because I'm the same thing. I can't linger around at a gym.
Yeah.
I can't. It's just like, same thing. Time is kind of money on my fucking
And it's like
life.
sometimes if you linger around, you're giving yourself too much rest in between reps. It's just not.
Yeah, so like that's another thing too. If your mind is not engaged in the workout, it's not really working out.
Yeah, because you're not telling your body like, oh, like focusing on a certain muscle area or whatever.
Yeah, I could do 25 reps on the bench.
Just be like going through
25 reps.
Yeah.
And get no benefit from it because like I'm not there. They're just like ghost reps in my head, right?
Yeah, you're just going through the motions.
Yeah. Or I could do 10 or even 5 reps where I'm like completely engaged mentally, and through that mental engagement, like every muscle is also being engaged now in that exercise. I'll get more benefit from that than I will from, like I said, just fucking repping out for no reason, just mindlessly repping out.
That's why I feel like people don't really see a lot of like gains or growth when they're first at the gym or like midway through their like gym training, just because like they probably just get into the routine and they're just like not focused, or they're just like it's part of their schedule, so it's not really like they're not all there when they're at the gym.
Here's a hot take. I think PRs are low-key overrated.
I think it's like good to hit that mark, but people just get satisfied with like the 1 rep shit. I've never done 1 rep shit. I can't, like, if it's not 4 reps, I'm not doing it.
So that's the thing. So that's what I'm saying. So when I first started working out, I was the same. I had that same. I think it took me like probably 2 or 3 years to figure this out. But like for me, I was the same thing. I would my workouts were always full, and I would do like a pyramid build up. So I would start with like a plate. And then I'd switch to like a plate and 10 pounds, and then I'd go a plate and a quarter, and then I'd go 2 plates, and then I'd go until my max, and then I'd go back down the pyramid, right? So I'd go back down. So if I hit like 2 plates and a quarter or whatever, I'd go right back down. All right, back to 2 plates, 2 reps now instead of 3 because I'm fucking tired.
Yeah.
Okay, drop 2 plates. I'll go plate and a half for like 6. Okay, now I'll go plate and I'll rep out. Boom. And that was like my workout. So I stopped PRing. Again, probably like 3 years in. I loved having a PR because it was an achievement.
Yeah, it's like a mark you aim for.
Yeah, and so there's nothing wrong with it at all. But for me, like if you're shooting for PRs all the time, like that wasn't my prerogative as a gym goer.
Like you want to at least get consistent with what your old PR was. I feel like people jump it too fast. But they just do 1 PR and they're on to the next, but they still can't even rep their like current PR that they hit.
Well, that's the beauty of it too. Is like when you first start out at the gym, you're gonna hit PRs day after day after day. But once you become like a seasoned lifter, like PRs are gonna come maybe once a few months, if not
maybe
years.
like once a year.
And sometimes you just don't PR anymore because like you've reached your physical peak.
Yeah. Or you got to switch up your workouts or try different training regimens or something.
So striving for the PR, I have no problem with. And like I said, people who PR, awesome, more power to you. But that wasn't the reason why I lifted.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of people lift. People lift for the different reasons, and mine wasn't for for PRing, and mine was also not for the like physical
aesthetic.
I'm more of a functional person. Like honestly, CrossFit would probably be up my alley, but I think CrossFit has a lot of problems with itself too. But like I would just do whatever felt natural with my body. So if it meant like 6 reps and 7 was gonna push it, then I wouldn't do the 7. I wouldn't want someone to, you got it in you. Like no. Like, I'm gonna listen to my body instead of like over exaggerate myself.
Yeah.
Or overstimulate.
Or
myself.
that like that thing where people always want to be sore. Like you don't have to always be sore after the gym. Right?
Yeah. So I was watching a Joe Rogan podcast, and there was a guy who was saying that he was like, now his take was pretty out there in terms of like he was like you should never
feel sore.
So you
I think I've seen. Yeah, I don't remember.
He's like you should never feel sore when you work.
Or
out.
he's like I have never felt sore.
If that was the case, a lot of people would probably be doing like 1 rep before, right? Like.
Or they wouldn't try new shit because whenever you try a new workout that you've never done before, you're gonna feel sore.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I took like maybe a year off of working out, and I got back into it, and I kind of tried to see if that worked. Not to that extent, because like I have no self. I guess it's like I don't have self control. I'm like doing that. But like you don't notice it's that's why it's called they call them DOMS, right? Delayed onset, like yeah, it's delayed. It's where the soreness is delayed, right?
Yeah, where like 2 days later you feel it more.
Yeah. So I would do those, or I would try to work out and not get sore, and it would be impossible because like it would happen like hours later or day later. So for me, it's almost impossible. But I understand like again as a seasoned like fitness guru or a seasoned junkie, like seasoned workout junkie, right? Like that makes more sense, and that was true for me too. Like I would try and it got to the point some days where I lift so regularly that I could hit my full workout and like try to reach that soreness and never do because I worked out every day. So I think in that scenario it works more in that wheelhouse, but like going off from not working out ever and expecting to not be sore, like that sounds almost impossible.
Yeah, I think like after you're working out for like 6 months or a year, then trying to be like, okay, I'm gonna do workouts and try not to get sore makes sense. But that first year is too hard.
Yeah. Okay, so CrossFit. I love the concept of CrossFit a lot, but I knew a handful of CrossFit people, and the way they described it, or the way they told me about how their workouts were, and she was someone who would like film every workout. Like CrossFit is that place where you did that because it was competition, right? So like, oh, it's a workout, but also it's a competition workout. So like, how many reps can you get, or how many sets can you do, or how fast can you do your workout? I didn't like that aspect of it because, and the reason why is because like people would literally give up their form just to cut time,
or like get more weight on.
Yeah, and so like the risk of injury was so much higher. So, but I loved it because it was a high intensity workout. So there was a lot I agreed with it, but there was a lot where I was like, okay,
because for like HIIT stuff, you're using all of your body.
Yeah, and that was the thing too. Was like again, you're doing this. The workouts were again, it was either like how much weight can you do and how many reps, or it was like
how fast.
Here's the set weight you have to do for guys. Here's the set weight you have to do for girls. How fast can you get this workout done? And I couldn't agree with that because like some of my body parts or some of my like muscle groups weren't like ready to do that lift, so I wasn't gonna sacrifice that injury to try and like fucking like muscle it. You know what I mean? I wasn't gonna like risk injury for that. Now again, I love the high intensityness of it, and that's why I probably joined a CrossFit gym. Yeah, I just couldn't get my mind around like that whole concept.
Yeah, I always feel like giving up form is not the move.
Mm-mm.
And a lot of people when they're first starting at the gym, like you have to have a lot of patience to just be like, okay, I know that I could be doing more weight, but I just want to focus on getting the form down. Because if you skip the step of building your foundation for form, once you start lifting heavier weights, you're just going to hurt yourself.
That's the thing, yeah. And that's the thing too, is there's a lot of ego lifters. There's a lot of people who are like...
That's what, like, sometimes when you go work out with your friends, you start ego lifting for no fucking reason.
Yeah. Kendall did that very terribly, man. So before we moved out to Arizona, and we hung out on the regular, right? My cousin had a gym membership, or my cousin was he worked at the gym I go to now, and so I used to take Kendall every now and then. Yes. Yeah, he was always game every now and then, but he would try and lift the amount I would lift, and I've been lifting for a good year by this point, year or two, and he. You know Kendall. Everybody kind of knows Kendall. He is the couch potato, and he's always been. And he would like.
But he'll do things out of spite, or like.
He would do things out of spite or ego, right?
Yeah.
He was like, I was like, oh, don't like, you don't have to do the same weight as I do, and he would want to because, yeah, I would blame it on his ego, but like I'm like, dude, like you're not gaining anything, but you're gonna get sore, you're gonna build muscle, but it's terrible.
That's why you have to be really patient with it.
If you drop the weight in half, or even like 20% of the weight I did, and you did it better that way, you would get like such more benefit, and you wouldn't hate yourself or hate going to the gym as much, because he would be coming out of it like sore as shit. I had a coworker, same thing in Arizona, same thing. One workout with me, and I was like, all right, like please, whatever you do, you don't have to keep up. Just go at your own pace. And again, this is why I like working out with my brother, because I had that mindset where I'm like, oh, he's curling 40s and 50s. I'm just gonna curl 25s. Like, I'm not gonna fucking I have no ego in that game. I don't care. Right. I have that like mental capacity to be like, that's not the way I'm lifting.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. That's not what I'm lifting. So I know that. But like I worked out with this coworker of mine when I was in Arizona. I was like, so he had like a Kendall mindset with it. He was like, no, it's cool. I got this. The next day, he didn't work out with me ever again. And like the next day at work, he was sore for probably like a whole week.
Bruh.
I was like, see, but dude, if you dropped your weight and you just like kept on the same routine as me,
yeah,
like you would have been fine. But you tried to like, you thought you can get your results, or you thought you can like show me, not show me up, but like impress me. Like I don't find that impressive at all. To be honest, like cool, you kept up, but like
at what cost?
But if you built yourself to that, I would have been way more impressed.
Yeah,
it would have been like I love seeing that like coming of age, like
or like the slow progression. Yeah,
I love the progression. That's why I like lifting. That's why I like working out. I like the progression of like going from like unfit to like, wow, I'm feeling amazing. Wow, like these lifts are easier and easier. Now I can start bringing the weight up because lifting at this lower weight is not beneficial. It's not as beneficial anymore.
And I feel like it's not even ego lifting. People do it in everything. Like when you first pick up a skill, if you have a friend who's already doing it and they're better than you, like you just want to start jumping steps for no fucking reason.
Oh, dude, so again in the workout realm. I'm very good with that, self-control wise. When it comes to like exactly that, picking something up, I'm like, I think I can already do the hard shit, and I skip all the basics and all the foundational skills you need before you do that.
Like that foundation stuff is so important. Like sometimes when I look back at like my learning, I was like, damn, when I did math, I would just kind of rush through shit because I was like not a fan of word problems because I wasn't patient. So I was like, but if I would have just developed the foundation, the shit would, like the harder math would have been way easier.
So I think that's why I became so like well versed in mathematics, or just like learning in general. I took the extra time not to like pass my class. I took the extra time to learn my craft.
Yeah.
Or not to pass the class, to learn my craft. And so like for mathematics, remember at very young age, so my brother was either already in school or he was already he had to been already in classes. So he was like in kindergarten. I was not even in school yet. I had flashcards for everything. And when I look back at it, like maybe like a few months ago, I look back at it, I kind of was like, was I an idiot back then? Mm-hmm. But no, my parents were just cool, and I was just cool. Like we were all just like well enough to know like I wanted that head start. So like I literally had flashcards for mathematics. I literally had like flashcards for like reading correct words.
Yeah.
I used to get frustrated because I used to get where and were mixed up, and this is a very vivid memory I have. But like I read a book, and I can't remember what the book was, but it was like a kid's book, like 5-10 pages long. Mm-hmm. And I would read it, and then I'd go to my dad, and I'd read it to my dad, and I'd fuck up where and were every time to the point where he got annoyed with me. And I lost it. I was just like, I fucking didn't want to read another word again.
Yeah.
And then after a while, I got over it. But like, I loved the fact that I had that foundation, because like when it came into like basic addition, subtraction, arithmetic, I was like killing it. And that gave me a good foundation to like, I was like learning multiplication tables and division tables before people were like able to add. Like in second grade, we were getting into like mental like addition and subtraction. 12 minus 1, that's 11. People had trouble with that. And then again, this is public school setting. People had trouble with that. I was doing like 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9. You know, so I was killing it. And again, because I had that like head start, when we got into algebra and then later on in calculus, like doing those simple like tricks, I never had to worry about checking my math there. I always did because I was that guy.
Double check.
But like my confidence in like those simples made my focus on the complex a lot more. Yeah. So I was able to focus on those more and make sure like I was using the right like technique, and I was using the right like, okay, this is where I want to do an integral. Okay, how do I do that? And then at the same time too, I like to learn the origins and the basics of everything. So like when it came to like physics, I saw a lot of people in our high school always struggle with physics and chemistry, like a lot of sciences. Yeah. And it wasn't because of the mathematics, because again, anybody
can learn the math. Yeah,
we had a calculator. Anybody can add the numbers together. They just didn't know why
you're doing it in a certain order. Yeah.
But if you knew like the reasoning behind why, then you never needed to know the formula to begin with.
Like I have a friend right now. She's taking business calc before she like starts her master's program, and she's just like, she's not a big fan of math, so she's just like, I don't get why I'm learning this. When am I ever going to use it? And I'm like, if I'm being honest, I feel like math you'll probably end up using more than most of the other shit you learn.
So funnily enough, so the show, I think it's called The Beast.
Mm-hmm.
So have you heard of that show?
No.
So it's a game show, right? And the guy is he's like a genius.
Mm-hmm.
He just knows everything. He's a mathematician, like that's his title,
mm-hmm.
right? That's his profession. But in the show, like, dude, he knows everything.
Yeah.
He knows everything from like actors and actresses and movies to like history and everything in between, mathematics, sciences, all of that.
Yeah.
And the game show was literally like a competition. So it would be like 3 people. There would be a question prompt, and they'd have to get the question correct. And usually the other guy would always, like the guy they go up against, would get the question correct 95% of the time.
Yeah.
He'd miss maybe like 1 or 2 questions at most per showing or per episode.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, like why is a mathematician knowing all this? And I'm like, oh, it's the same reason why like physics to me
makes sense.
Was so easy. Like he learned like the basics of it and like learned the reasonings behind everything. So when instead of having to just like know it and like reach out of your memory to just, I just know that as the fact.
Yeah.
Right. He would work his way through that process, but he did it at such a fast rate, it was easy for him, right? So again, physics is just such an easy example because it's a mathematics-based thing, but like people always had trouble with mechanics, which is like the first physics you learn in college, and like usually that's the biggest one you learn in high school as well.
Mm-hmm.
It just helps you get used to like the idea of
of
the nature of our world. And our teacher, I have to say too, our teachers weren't, the teacher I had was not the most amazing at teaching
in
physics.
high school or in college?
In high school.
Oh.
And the reason why is because a lot of teachers did the thing where they would just give you the formulas without any explanation, or their explanations were, the explanation and reasoning for why these formulas were what they were very inadequate with why we should know it.
Mm-hmm. And they wouldn't give you like problems, like real world problems. They just give you some random bullshit stuff.
Mm-hmm. So like everyone should know gravity. That one's not a formula, but like gravity is
how fast
an object. It's a pull motion. It's not even like, it's not something falling to the ground. It's the body of Earth has a pull factor, and it's a 9.8 meters per second in a vacuum, right? Or not in a vacuum, but without any other variables enacting on this object. But we take that, right, and you'd use it and like, why do we need, like, what's force? Like, how do you calculate force? And people would be like, F equals ma. So people always knew that, right? And they would just know m is mass and a is acceleration and F would give you the force. But if you knew why those all coincided with each other, you didn't even have to know the formula.
Yeah, you just understand the concept.
Yeah, you'd be like, force is, just the amount of... If you just like explained yourself the definition of what force was, you'd already know.
That's why like people hate proofs when you're doing like math stuff.
Yeah. So like, I love proofs. I understand the hate for it because it's very like
monotonous,
meticulous. Yeah, it's very meticulous. But it's the same explanation as to why like I go about what I go about with physics, right? It's like okay, it's a lot of right. And again, the reason why I think teaching them is so hard is people just like shotgun shell everything at you. This is a conditional. This is this is an and symbol. This is an or symbol. And they would just tell you like the shortcuts without giving you the
reasoning of like how I got to the shortcut or why we're even solving for certain things.
Yeah. And I feel like I didn't take calculus A and B, but I had a feeling based on like the people I knew who did it, that that's what they did. It was like you kind of have to already know all this shit before you go to calculus A, which was true because it was an AP class, right?
Yeah.
But like my high school, mathematics, I took just regular calculus, which was like I think we had like one or two classes of it. I think the progression for a lot of people was like algebra one, geometry, algebra two, and then you go to pre-calc usually, or some that's like the short, or I would say the entry path, right? Yeah. Then you had the kids who studied math and
they just had opportunity to do geometry earlier or some shit.
People did geometry earlier. Some people went straight into algebra two.
Yeah.
So I did algebra 1 honors, and then I did geometry honors, and then I did algebra 2 trigonometry honors. I did all the honors classes, and then when I got to the end, I didn't want to do calculus A and B. I just did regular calc because I was like, I don't need the AP credits.
Yeah.
I'd rather learn and make sure I had it down before instead of getting credits. So calculus, I loved that class because people weren't geniuses in calculus. You weren't dealing with other geniuses like you would in an AP class.
Yeah.
Everyone was just everyone was a standard Joe who just won, who thought pre-calc was too easy, but calculus. And it was funny because I actually had to backtrack because when I skipped pre-calc, I lost a lot of in between.
Mm-hmm.
So my college experience, I had to go back to pre-calc just to get my basics down because I missed all those fundamentals. Yeah. Calculus became that much more difficult, and it was apparent because I was struggling. I was struggling in that class. I had the calculus concepts down, but everything after that, I just fucking out of my head.
Yeah.
So but what I loved about that calculus class that I took, that wasn't an AP class, was we would go over. He would show us the long definition of everything. And then he'd be like, well, that's just the explanation of it. You guys don't have to do it that way. I'm just showing you how, why it is what it is. But here is the shortcut method too now. So we have both methods. So if people forgot how to shortcut, they would just revert back, or they should revert back to the long definition, I would say. And from doing that, you should be able to know everything, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we did that. But again, since I had a huge gap in my knowledge because of pre-calc, when I transferred out of when I went to De Anza College, I had to take pre-calc because I was just
you're missing too much in between.
It was just too much of a frustration to be I have all the calculus part down, but I got the answer wrong because I don't remember my pre-calc shit.
Yeah.
So I took it De Anza. That was a fucking bust because my pre-calc teacher, I just didn't like
the way it was structured.
Well, what was it? It was quarter system. I just didn't like quarter systems because it took 3 quarters to learn
one thing,
and I just don't know why that didn't help in my. I guess the breakdown of it was just so short. It just didn't help me.
Yeah.
So when I went to Arizona, I took pre-calc again on a semester, and that was just a breeze. But once I got that gap, dude, I took there was calc honors you could take in community college, which was I would say it's a class above AP calc, right? Because you get an extra credit on for AP you just get the college credit, but for calc honors in college you get the credit plus, right? I can get a 5.0 on my GPA technically if I took all honors classes, which would be a fucking crazy. So. Yeah, so once I got my pre-calc understood, going back to calculus was just so fucking easy because I already had a background in it. So I did a lot of those where I worked a lot. I took a lot of classes multiple times because of my college. My college transferring never accredited those classes to me.
Yeah.
So I took English 4 or 5 times, annoyingly, as much as I didn't want to. I took mathematics too many times.
But at least you probably learned everything.
But for me, I didn't mind it. It just reinforced that I fucking have this.
Yeah.
So I had to take a physics class. My last semester of school that I took a physics class for the 3rd time. And I didn't pay attention at the time because everything she talked about, I was like, oh, I already know this. Like, oh, this is already like well into my head. I don't need to learn this.
Yeah, I was like talking to a friend the other day, and we're just like, sometimes it's if you just do it right the first time, it's better than like doing something wrong and then trying to go back and then figure out what's like wrong with certain stuff.
Yeah.
Just saves more time.
Yeah. For that, I have to say I hate transferring. Well, let me be more specific. So, like, when I transferred from an Arizona community to an Arizona State University, ASU, like the transfers were like straight across because it was that was
the classes matched up. Yeah,
that was the feeder school. Same thing with like California school systems, right? Like when you went to De Anza, the credits probably transferred pretty smoothly when you went to university, right? So, but when I went from Arizona community and Arizona State going back to California, it was like lost in translation for whatever reason. As much as I can be like, look, it lines up perfectly with the descriptions and what the criteria is, but because it was like numbered different or structured differently, half the time they
don't accept it.
I don't think we can take it as a college credit, but we can't take it as a prerequisite.
Yeah, like your requirement wouldn't be fulfilled. Like you'd get the credits just.
Yeah, which was very frustrating, and why I had to take like multiple classes over it.
It's probably like Charles probably had that same thing too.
Yeah, it was annoying. I loved college though. Or I loved
learning.
I loved community college.
Okay.
So like, because it was so cheap.
Yeah.
It was so cheap, and I fucking didn't know what I wanted to do.
So it's the best. You just get to learn.
I have no idea what I wanted to do.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend or like an old karate student of mine, and they were like, I don't know what I want to do, and they're going into their senior year. I'm like, well, if it hits like November and you still don't know what you want to do, just
senior year,
Okay. I was like, if it hits like November-ish and you still don't know what you want to do, just go to community college. It's probably the best for you to like figure it out.
Well, that was the problem with our high school too. Was they had like this
quota.
They had this image they had to maintain.
Yeah.
95% of our students go to 4-year. But I was like, that's not everybody's prerogative. Like for me, if I went to a 4-year, I probably would have been screwed out of more money.
But like we have friends who they went to their 4-year, but because they're at a 4-year, their first 2 years they dicked around. Whereas when you're at community college, you really can't be dicking around because you're not trying to stay for like so long, or like it's just
depending on that.
Yeah,
because I kind of did dick around, but I had no idea what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I thought I did a lot of the time.
Well, it's like because like people go to their 4-year, and that means they're usually away from family in a dorm, so they got like whatever restrictions they had at home, they don't have now.
Well, I felt like 4 years locked you in too.
Yeah.
So the moment you locked into a major, you're like, okay, I have to lock in, or else it's gonna.
And there's only very few things you can switch into that like overlap.
Yeah. So like for example, my brother who just walked by, he went into San Diego State as a business major.
Oh shit.
And almost made it. And luckily, because it's an impacted school, so that means like
they have too many kids in one major.
Yeah. So you can have this instead of going like, oh, we can take a pool of like 50,000 students. It was like, okay, we could take 4,000 business majors, we could take 3,000 engineering majors, we could take, and so that's how they did it. So he did business, and he hated business. So luckily, somehow he was able to switch his major, which is like really hard to do in impacted schools.
Yeah.
But he lost like a year and a half, and he only did his major. I think he did it for maybe a year.
Yeah, just because it's like he switched to engineering, there's not much overlap there.
Yeah. So he was able to make that switch, but he still lost technically a year because the way they like schedule, the way 4 years schedule your classes with counselors, they put like your prereqs or your like your gen eds with some prereqs.
Yeah,
so
it's like
business prereqs,
and
they didn't account towards his engineering.
Yeah. And
so all that time that he spent, where he could have probably killed his gen eds, like he lost half that time.
Yeah, that's why at community college, your first 2 years, you're just doing GEs and then like some courses for your major, but it's mainly like knocking out all the GEs.
Yeah.
But then you'll go see someone's schedule, like going into their junior year who's been at a 4-year the whole time, and they might have not even like touched like a bunch of their GEs.
Yeah. So or vice versa, where they're like, where they stack their classes, and once they get to their juniors, like they have to do, and this is a lot of problem with engineers, it's like, it's a lot of stepping stone classes. So you have to take, I guess for mathematics is an easy one, right? So like a lot of people in many classes, you don't have to take calculus.
Yeah.
Or calculus.
But you do for engineering,
is the highest math requirement.
Yeah.
But for
engineers, you
for
got to
engineering,
do
you have to take Calc 1, and then once you take Calc 1, you can take Calc 2, and once
And
you
then
take
3.
Calc 2, that starts opening the door. I think Calc 1 can open the door to like differentials, but or Calc 2 or 3 is for differentials. But like that's the thing, if you skip out on like your mathematics basis, like by the time you hit junior year, you're already like half a semester already behind because you have to do Calc 3, and then Calc 3 will open you up to all of the other math fields that you need to enter before you can graduate.
It's kind of like going back to the ego lifting thing when we're talking about like community college versus 4 years. You have to just know what's for you instead of what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
Like if you don't know what you want to do, or if it's just like if you know your financial situation's not like other people or something like that, you know?
Well, yeah, and that's a great example because he did the 4 year and it took him more than 4.
Yeah.
You went to community college and you knew what you kind of wanted and you fucking just hustled through it. And I was the guy who just had no clue whatsoever what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I kind of lingered around. So I took all the fun classes. Like that's why I love community because like
you took all the classes.
I took all the fun classes I could, and it saved. And it dude, it was pocket change compared to like if I did that at a 4 year, I'd be fucked. But everybody would be like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
You know?
But like at least your brother like figured out like, yo, I don't like business. There's some people finish their degree and they like, let's say they didn't get a chance to do an internship in the middle. They get to their like first job out of college and they're like, this shit's trash.
They fucking hate it. I had a guy who did that. He was I think he did economics, and he was a bartender, and he was like, "Oh yeah," and you know, I used to be his bar back in Arizona, and like, yeah, I'm quitting bartending in like a week or two, and I got a job in my major, and I think maybe a month or two later, he was back at the bar because he was like, I fucking hated it. I love the bar, makes me more money, and I just hated what I was doing over there.
Yeah,
just want to pull my hair out every day.
That's what it's like. You got to try things and not just like try them in a classroom setting, but try them in like the workspace setting, even if you're volunteering or not getting paid or whatever, just so you know, like, because even in like, let's say for like CS or something, people work on different things. So you could be like, I like working on machine learning. I don't like working on X, like doing website development or some shit. Because you're like major, though it's like specific, you could do so much with it. And not every company does every single aspect of it, right? Like some companies work on like robotics or some shit or like AI.
Yeah.
But then other companies, they just like do like or like they do like website development or some shit like that. So
yeah, some people are more hardware, some people are more software, some people are like complete robotics, right?
I think people just don't realize, like a lot of the majors they don't realize are so broad when it comes to like work, because like you don't use every single thing you learn.
Yeah. So like, okay, so these are some of the classes I took, and I fucking loved it for it. So I took a mythology class. It was an English class. It was an English
requirement.
It wasn't a requirement, but like it fulfilled a requirement.
Okay.
So I took a mythology class. I took a magic and witchcraft class. Like I took a logic, which was a philosophy class. Anything that just sounded fun, I just took it. Like I took sign language.
Yeah. I think Kayla did too.
Yeah, a lot of fun. I forgot half of my sign language, but like still, like going through that class and like looking at the different things we can learn, it was a lot of fun. And again, I saved so much money. If
taking
I did this in a
college,
4 year, right? Again, I would be in a lot of trouble with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I learned that mistake at Arizona because once I went to a 4 year, they had a new major at ASU because they're number one in innovation. They literally created a major my first year going into it called Innovation in Society. I was like, that sounds fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I took it and it was nothing what I thought it was going to be. So I literally wasted like a good half a year
just trying
understanding that was not the major for me. So I lost half a year. And then I went back to mathematics because that was like, oh, I know mathematics. That's my bread and butter. But I didn't know if that's what I wanted to do, so I wasted literally a whole year.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I have to step out of college because I have to step out of the 4 year because I'm literally doing what I didn't want to do. You know what I mean? I was like burning a hole in my wallet trying to figure it out, and I still haven't figured it out yet. So
I think like people go into college with such a tunnel vision type of mindset, but you have to realize it's way bigger than that because a lot of times schools are way behind what's happening in the real world. So there's not majors for shit that you could be doing.
Well, I was just gonna say that's the hard part too. So like once you get into the professional world, like internships are kind of hard to find.
Yeah.
Like you can be as adamant of a searcher as possible, and they will be the worst thing for you.
You gotta like come up with your own projects, work on your own portfolio, just like
yeah. Unless, and this is because like I think to a certain degree, if I know this correctly, like once you get into like your senior credits, that's when like colleges are like, this is when you're looking for internships.
Yeah.
And that becomes an issue because if like in those internships you
don't like it,
you don't like it, you're already like
fucked.
Yeah, you're kind of already locked in, right?
Yeah.
And then at the same time, if you go to an internship without any of that, like they don't kind of want to accept you because you have no background or you're not working towards the background that they're expecting.
That's why I feel like in your first few years, you got to be open-minded and talk to people from various different like majors or like people who've interned at various different places or talk to just people who are working. Just so you could get their outlook too, because you probably don't know what's out there.
Yeah, and that was the thing too. I working at the bar, I go to other bars too. I don't drink, but a lot of my coworkers will, and we'll go to a different bar. I'll talk to other bartenders who are also in my like same predicament or who were once in my predicament. Yeah. They're like, oh, I did this because I love numbers, and then all you do is just crunch numbers, and like it's fun because you look at businesses, and it's pretty much like actuary, or like they were telling me to be like
an auditor.
Not an auditor. So what was it? CPA, which is accounting.
Yeah,
I guess it was accounting. Yeah. I was like, oh, that kind of sounds like something I'd be interested in. I'm like, yeah, take a look at it. So like I've gotten more ideas and I've gotten more perspective on like what jobs sound amazing and what jobs don't, just from bartending.
Yeah.
You know, so that was always like a big plus for me. But yeah, also entry level jobs are fucking bullshit. There's no job.
It's just like that's just the biggest paradox ever, where it's like you need experience to get the first job, but it's like, bro, I need your job to get this experience. Like I just got out of fucking
entry level, but you need a year or two experience in the field, and you're like, okay, but that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's like, bro, it's hard to get internships, and then some people, are like behind the semester, so they're doing summer classes. They're not gonna do their internships because they're trying to finish.
Yeah,
it's like, bro, it's just like if it's entry level, you should just basically be hiring people on potential, not on like what they've done. Like maybe you want them to have projects, but you can't be having them be like 2 years of work experience. That's fucking crazy.
So this is another thing. I've talked about this with my dad, but I've also like had perspectives on this. Like this has just been my like perspective on things, but like I feel like the more that the government, like local, state, and federal, get into like workforce things, like it becomes a lot more difficult for you to find jobs. Because now they're requiring people to hire specific groups. Yeah. Or like now you have to have a minimum,
like diversification stuff.
Diversification,
like demographic
minimum wage
stuff
too. So like people who set minimum wages, you kind of screw a lot of fields. Because okay, I'm working a job that you should not deserve to get paid $20 for. Minimum wages, I think like 15, right? Something like that.
Yeah, 17, 16, yeah.
But like some jobs, you should not be getting $17 to flip a burger, like low key.
Yeah.
Like some people do it because they can afford it. Like I know McDonald's and In-N-Out are one of those places because they're just that successful. Awesome, cool. But like for a lot of like small mom and pop shops, like
they can't pay that.
Be the case. But so it cuts.
It cuts revenue.
Well, it not only cut revenue, but like now people are less likely to hire more people.
Or they'll just hire less people and have the same amount of work.
Exactly. So that was always the case. Like, so in Arizona, I worked at a fish cafe. A lot of the jobs I worked have always been understaffed, and that's because they didn't want to pay any money off the minimum wage.
Yeah.
Right. Minimum wage was way too much. So like I know bars have like a workaround with it. So like when I worked in Arizona as a barback, I had like $3 cut off of my minimum. But the incentive was that we'd get tipped out more, and that was the case. So when I worked at a fish cafe, also in Arizona, they didn't do that. They didn't do I don't know if they could. I don't know how that workaround worked, but they didn't cut out any of our minimum off. I mean, minimum in Arizona was $10. So we got $2 more. But we were so short-staffed.
Yeah.
So like if someone had to call out, it was a scramble to find another person to cover.
Yeah.
And I always had that idea, like I always had that, like, always knew about that. So anytime I like needed it, like someone needed to cover, I usually did because I was like, dude, who else is gonna cover?
Yeah.
Right? Oh, it's an emergency, and I would always make sure. I always loved the high school people who are like just out of high school who tried to like who just wanted a day off to hang out with their friends, and they'd be like, oh, I have an emergency, I have a family emergency. I'd be like, okay, I need like I used to play like manager in my head. I was like, okay, like what is the emergency? Like you can't really ask, but over text, like it was nothing professional on my side. Like I wasn't a manager, and I can ask any question I wanted. So anytime someone wanted me to cover, I was like, I need an adamant reason for you to cover, for me to want to cover your shift.
Yeah.
If it's just because you want to hang out with your friends, kind of say.
Well, it's like people in high school, they don't realize like. It's that thing where you don't realize how much your decisions affect other people.
Yeah.
Like, especially in a work environment, like if you do take a day off or some shit, or like if you do a task but you don't do it right, then it fucks up so many people. Like, there's just, you got to be more aware.
It's the responsibility. And like a lot of kids. Don't get me wrong, that's the whole point. But like, if that's the case, it's a hard balance, right? So like, that's why there's jobs. So like, when I worked at Tilly's, that was like strictly for high school students.
Yeah.
Right, like if you were not management at Tilly's, you're likely a high school student.
Yeah.
Which was awesome. I mean, everyone had the same mindset. Oh, do you want to make a few extra bucks? Yeah. Okay. Do you want to take a shift? Yeah. Why not? Right. But like, if you're working in a professional field where people are trying to make money, and you're a high school kid, or you're like, still have that young person mindset, it's not gonna work out.
Yeah.
It's not gonna work out the way you want. And that's the payoff, though.
There's just so much more at stake when you're working at bigger companies with more revenue, or like they have bigger deadlines.
That's why you get paid more, though.
Yeah.
Too, right. That's the responsibility you take on. So that's how it goes.
But yeah, it's tricky.
So you majored in the parallel of design, right?
I wanted
design, right? Graphic design.
I kind of wanted to do visual effects for like movies and stuff, but the schools I got into didn't have that specific major. They either have like straight up art, which I'm not drawing, bro. So I was like, I'm not doing that. So then, like Berkeley just had film and media, where we would still do a lot of film stuff, but it wasn't specifically for like visual effects. So I just ended up doing that, but.
And now you're getting your master's.
Yeah. Because during like the pandemic, a lot of those like production houses kind of like shut down.
Yeah.
So I was like, I need to find something in between to make me money. But I still do like video stuff. But now it's more of, I'm not reliant on school for that. It's just more of like my freelance stuff that I just need to get better at. But
have you ever tried to look into working at, now that things have kicked up?
I haven't looked lately, but I should. I just always felt like my portfolio is not up to par as to where I want it to be, but I just need to like start working on more projects.
Yeah, I feel that, dude. That's me with like, because I'm the same thing. I feel like I'm gonna be more of a freelance if I ever went in that field, because I like drawing, I like visual stuff, and I always have I have so many ideas, dude.
Yeah,
I'm such a piece of shit. I have so many ideas. And I always get so overwhelmed with my ideas, or I sometimes
like where to start or what to do, or
how to go about it.
I've been seeing like lately. I think Charles has been doing more digital art. Like he just started picking that up because he's usually like pen and paper. Yeah.
Digital? Do you mean like it's just like tablet drawing now?
I want to say
actual,
it is
graphic design.
It looks like tablet drawing. I didn't ask him about it, but from what he posted, it looks like tablet drawing.
But it's like drawing.
Yeah,
it's not.
It's not like
graphic design and marketing.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's not like fucking Photoshop or InDesign. No, I don't think it is. Yeah.
Well, you kind of have to go that route now as an artist. It's just more efficient, dude. Like, don't get me wrong.
It's more efficient and like, because if you mess up, you just hit undo, or like it'll help you fix. Like I think InDesign, like if you're trying to do like a circle or something and you don't draw it perfect, it'll like correct. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So. It makes you better, I guess, but yeah.
So that's the reason why I say that, though, is like, I mean, even manga, even manga drawers go digital, because like, let's say you want to do like a small like frame by frame drawing, all you do a lot of the time is just copy paste, or like a lot of artists do layers, right? So like the first layer, I'm gonna draw the character, and then layer 2 is gonna be the background, and then layer 3 is gonna be the background's background, right? Like the sunset and everything like that, or the ground floor. Like
I feel like manga drawing takes so long. There's so many different steps, so many different layers, like you're talking about.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, dude, most successful mangas and most successful comics have multiple artists. You have your main guy who's drawing out the it's like almost like a sketch of what they want, and then they'll go into like teams of breaking it down.
Or
you draw the buildings.
You do
I'll
the
draw
sky.
the play-by-play.
Yeah.
So then it gets even crazier in animations because then you have a bigger team, and so you'll have. I think they say the more inexperienced artists will do like the stills. So those are the scenes like Dragon Ball Z, for example. The ones where like it's like you get a clear image of. Those are the ones that like the more inexperienced artists will draw
because they're easier.
Because they're easier, and all the ones where you get the frame by frames. That's where you get the more experienced the artists to do, because those are going to be the most difficult and the most tedious.
Like I think even for Marvel movies and stuff, Marvel doesn't just do all the visual effects or green screen themselves. They do some of it themselves, and then they like contract out a bunch of different products. Yeah. Because there's so much shit that goes on. Like I feel like 90% or 80% of those movies are just visual effects. Because when they're acting, they're probably just in front of a green screen or like motion capture shit.
There was they did this thing on. It was when Avengers came out, right? Because Avengers it dealt with like so many fucking characters.
Yeah.
But each person's screen time was less than like 8 minutes. Like the most person's screen time was I think 8 minutes long. Yeah. It's crazy. And it's almost a 3 hour movie. You get 8 minutes per character. Like,
and I saw like an interview with Tom Holland like a little bit ago where he was like, yeah, sometimes I don't even know which characters I'm actually in the scene with because we're not on set at the same time.
So yeah, that reminds me of like Eddie Murphy used to do like all the characters. Like the one I'm thinking of specifically was Norbit. So he did. Do you remember that movie?
No.
So the premise of that movie was he was like a skinny, like nerdy guy, and he found he has a love interest that never happened, and it was like this really pretty girl, but he settled for like this oversized like it was like just like it was a bad pair, right? It was like a oversized woman who just had a lot of attitude.
Yeah.
Acted like she was from the hood kind of attitude. Like those two together, like you're just like, oh, this is a toxic, like it wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
That was the premise of the movie. He played both of those roles. So in a lot of those movies where you play the same role, you can't be two places at one time. So they have to film it at different times, and like I always found that fucking I could never do that.
Yeah.
I could never like act and pretend someone's there. I mean, I could try.
It's hard.
It's just so difficult to like really get yourself engaged in that.
And to be like, if you have like a lot of like dialogue and intense dialogue, it's so hard to do it to like nobody. Like, yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. So I've been trying to like get like this story down. I think I've told you about it. I think Kendall and I have talked about it in our Headcanons podcast, but like every time I like get into like drawing, like I'm not amazing, so I want to get better. So I like work on it little by little. But like I'm like, man, if I want to make this an actual story like they do in like the mangas,
it's got to be more structured.
As a one person job, it's gonna take me forever. But I don't want anyone else on this project.
Yeah, because you don't know if they'll interpret it the same way or have the same vision.
Yeah, so I'm in that kind of like predicament where I'm like, I should, but at the same time, I'm not at that level either yet, so I'm okay with that. Because like, but you know the guy from One Punch Man, like he did his own things, but his drawings, have you seen his like originals? No. They're I don't want to say they're garbage. They're very basic.
That's probably why they had someone else do them.
Yeah, so they're stick figures, and then that was the thing. Other people reached out. I want to say reached out to him and were like, hey, can we turn this into an actual manga? Because this was like a webtoon. Oh, okay. So it was like, it wasn't, I had no like, his was just a very successful webtoon. Yeah. But the drawing style was just so bad. It was so bad. But it like the storytelling from it was awesome. Yeah. And you understood exactly what he was going for.
Not everyone's like well-rounded. Some people are just really good at certain things.
At portraying what they want to portray. And then this like, I think this manga team got on and was like, hey, we'll like your story. Yeah. We're going to turn this into like an actual dope-ass like graphic designed or graphically appealing manga.
Yeah.
They did, and that's like the whole story of
how it got
how
produced.
it became, yeah.
That's crazy.
So if you see like the prettier one, that's not the original.
Yeah.
And the story is a little different too, so there had to be something with that. But I don't want to go that route though. You know what I mean? Like if I'm gonna do that,
you want to do everything yourself.
I want it to be amazing, and I want it to be by me.
Yeah.
I'm very much a one-person band kind of mindset, and it's really bad because
I mean, it's good in certain things, but again, like it's like the ego lifting thing. You got to know what you're capable of and what you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I really need to like put more effort behind that.
Yeah.
Oh, we went from like politics to comics. How does this always happen?
I mean, that's why we have those random episodes every once in a while. We haven't done one in a while. So
I know, I enjoy them. I really do enjoy them because I don't mind like the train.
The out of the box stuff.
It's always the ones where Kendall's not here, and he would be like, perfect.
And sometimes he'll hop in on them.
You know what's funny? I think the funny thing is when he is here and we do those, we stay so on topic.
Yeah, but then what? Like the times we don't want him to stay on topic.
The time we have a topic worth talking about, we always get sidetracked. Fucking the irony, bro.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I feel like
this is a good note to end on now. We covered a lot. The government sucks, but everyone knows that.
We talked about like old science healing methods and like mindset training and lifting, and got into anime and manga and painting and stuff.
Yeah, to our bread and butter. Let's be real.
Yeah,
it's our bread and butter. I was like thinking about that. I was like, dude, a lot of our topics are very like. When we first started the podcast, it was really funny. It
was like supposed to be every topic, but now we're starting to find a little niche.
Yeah, which is fine because then we still go back to it. But like I think our first, I want to say when we first started this, I don't think we ever talked about anime.
No, I think it was just like relationships.
It was relationships. Like how's life going? Life sucks. Like now we like go straight into comics. I mean, me and Kendall, we both are on. We're gonna go through our little. Oh, dude, did you catch up on this chapter? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess we're starting to find our niche, but at the same time, we still want to outsource material a bit towards like today
to expand the audience or like because everyone talks about like relationships are probably a big deal in everyone's life, even if it's not like girlfriend, boyfriend, like friendships, family, whatever.
And that's the thing too is like I do want to talk about this stuff. I don't mind talking about it, but I just have so much more fun talking about things like that excite you, right? Yeah, that's just how it goes. Anyways, thank you guys for hanging in there with us. On that note, we're about to head out. So, it's your boy Maui.
And it's Bambi.
And this is
Couch Surfing. Peace.